of choice. Now, I want you to take your Bible because I don't see very well to read, so I'm going to ask you to do the reading. And we go back to the opening the Bible passage. And we know from studying the Bible how rebellious the children of Israel were. And now Joshua, now he's the leader, and he's going through all these issues and situations that poor Moses went through. And now he has made a decision. You know, sometimes those of us who are parents, if you have children who are stubborn, sometimes you feel as if you have to give up on them. So this is pretty much what he's saying, that it doesn't matter what you do, it doesn't matter what you want to do. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. And that is before us now. As Christians of today, we have to pay special attention to what's going on around us and know who we are and what we are expected to do. And I want us to look today especially at this word choice. What is choice? Now we are going to interact. What is choice?
Free choice.
It's what?
Decision.
When you make a choice, what do you do really? You do a selection, right? There gotta be, you can't just have one thing if you're gonna make a choice. It gotta be more than one. So when we choose, it means that we are going to make a decision as to which we prefer. And I want us to turn to Peter to First Peter, I think. First, let me get my. I want us to look at this. Yes, thing here. So if you First Peter 2, you are a chosen generation, Brother Francis.
Yes.
Can you remember? That 2, I think it's in verse 5. 2:9. And could somebody read that for me?
But ye are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a peculiar people, that he should show forth the praises of him who hath called you out of darkness into his marvelous light.
Okay. Now this is who we are. Who is saying that? Who do you think is saying? Telling us who we are. It's coming from the Bible, right?
Yeah.
And holy men of God write as they were inspired by the Holy Spirit. Okay, so here we are. We are a chosen generation. What does it mean? God is the one who chose us. What does that mean? God is the Father of everybody on earth. Is it that he just goes around and he just throws certain people? How does that come about?
Those who are obedient, those who
How does that come about? Is there a condition?
yes, obedience.
Right. And what? In order for us for God to choose us,
You have to meet the condition.
we have, I want you to look at the word choice. God is love. And he's loving. So he does not force love.
Amen.
So in order for God to choose us, then we first would have to do what? We have to allow him to choose us.
Amen.
And I hope you don't think that this sounds away. Because God is not just love, he's not just loving, he's love. And there is no such thing as forced love. So if God is going to choose us, it means that we are going to allow him to do that. Right? Brother Bertram? All right. So there is God. we have allowed him to choose us. Those of us who are chosen, we have allowed him to choose us. And I want to spend some time on looking at choice and the consequence of choice in different parts of the Bible. We have gone through issues in our lives. We have made some what we call bad choices and good choices, and we have suffered the consequences, or we have inherited the benefit, whichever way it went. So we are going to look at some Bible story and now you remember Ahab?
Yes.
Who is Ahab?
That was
King
the
of Israel. One of the kings.
Sorry, Rahab, not Ahab.
Rahab.
Rahab.
Which was a harlot.
She was a harlot. But she chose to do something.
Amen.
What was that? Remember that story? We find that
But
story in Joshua 2.
God.
Remember that the Israelites, they had issues, right? They were going to Jericho, and we know what was going to happen there and stuff like that. And Joshua sent 2 spies out, and Rahab hid them to protect them. And she asked a favor of them. And if you look through that story, you will see that Rahab did not just ask them a favor, hoping that something would happen. She actually told them that she'd know who their God was.
Amen.
And that they would succeed in destroying Jericho. So she asked for a favor. So that was a choice, because if they had caught her hiding those 2 spies, what would have happened to her? She would have been killed. But then she hid those spies, and when Jericho was destroyed, in the end, she was benefited because she asked a favor. She said, when you succeed in destroying this place, please remember not just me, but my whole family.
Amen.
So her choice was, the consequence of her choice was good, right?
Yes.
She made a good choice. She wasn't selfish, because just remember, she was a harlot, prostitute, whatever we call it. So she wasn't all that a very important person. So her life, if Joshua, if they had not succeeded, what would have happened to her? If they had found these guys hiding in her place, what would have happened to her? She would have been killed. So she had faith, and she made that choice. That was very good. Now, if we look at Esther, that's another story that, it bothers me sometimes to see. We know the whole thing about Esther. She was an orphan. She had no parents. But her uncle called Mordecai took care of her, and he was not liked by, was he Haman? Yeah. And Haman was making a plan to destroy all the Jews. So Mordecai sent for Esther, who now became queen, and told her about the situation and said she should do something about it. But in order for her to do something about it, she would have to contact the king. Now, in those days, you couldn't just walk in to the king and request it. And she prayed. She told them to pray about it. They all prayed and they fasted, and she went into the king. She chose to do that. And in the end, they were saved. And Haman himself was killed. So that's another positive choice that was made, But when we look at Hezekiah, you remember the whole story of Hezekiah? This guy was ill, and God told him that he was going to die. He didn't want to die. So he prayed and he asked God, and God said, okay, you won't die. And we're not going to talk about him asking for a sign. Although that's very important. The whole point is that he lived. And because he lived, Manasseh was born. Now you know about Manasseh? His lifestyle? How wicked that guy was? How many people he slaughtered? So his choice of Hezekiah, if he had died, then Manasseh would not be there. He would not have killed so many people, and he led the whole people into idolatry. He was the very first one to offer his child as a sacrifice. That was very bad. Can you imagine? You consider yourself a child of God and you offer your child. He was the very first one among the Israelites to do that. You know, so that was terrible. And we are just looking at the consequences of choice. But because Hezekiah did that, and Manasseh came and he did all of that, then you know that all these, they took away the Israelites to Babylon. And that is why you have the Jews ended up over there. Okay, so that's another one. You saying something? Okay. And then we look also at which other life I wanted to look at. Okay. We can stop at that. Now, we as Christians nowadays, we have a very important responsibility. Because when we read about we are a chosen generation and a royal people and all of that, it all has a consequence. God did not just choose us for us to be special and different. He chose us for a specific purpose. And what is that purpose? What is that purpose? Who are we really? Are we just coming to church and we just want to be saved and we don't have any responsibility? Who are we?
We are a chosen generation.
Why? Why are we chosen? What's the purpose? Mama, you gotta talk to me.
Well, God as a people, right? And even though God created different nations, but sin divides us, right? And some look away, from the scripture, the word of God. And so God as a people, He has set aside He called His chosen one. A people that would obey His will, obey His command, and follow, the step of Christ and Son.
Okay, could you read that passage again? Because I don't think we...
Which one?
There's the same
First
one.
Peter.
Peter, yes.
First Peter 2 verse 9.
Yes.
Now we are a chosen people.
Okay, we are a chosen people. We understand that, right?
Royal
What
priesthood.
next are we? Who are we?
A holy nation.
A holy nation. What makes us holy?
It's the word of God. The acceptance really of the word of God.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. And what is the next one?
Peculiar.
We are a peculiar people.
Okay.
Okay. Just forget about those other two. Do you think we as Seventh-day Adventists now behaving as a peculiar people? What peculiar means?
Different.
You're different.
Yeah.
Now, have mercy, Lord. We can't even go into church now and see the difference in the way some people was dressed. We have to remember that one of the things that's very obvious about anybody is their outward appearance. I can see your heart. I might not listen to any conversation from you, but I can certainly see you. And there are times when you might be at some place, you are in need of something, and you look around because, we assume that the way you dress will tell us a little bit about the type of person you are, right? But you can't even see a person who is properly dressed that you can go up to the person and say, like whatever. And I can give you an example because I experienced it. I remember once I was at a bus stop, and this lady came to me and she said to me, did you go to that church down there? And she was pointing to the Catholic church. And I said, no. I go to the Seventh-day Adventist church, and I told her where it was. And she started telling me about her issues. We waited for the bus and she was telling me about their issues, and there was one seat. So we just stood up and she was telling me about her issues, all about what's going on in her life and whatever and whatever and whatever. And all I was doing is just listening. Because there are times when people are talking to you, relating stuff to you, and they don't want you to tell them anything. They're just emptying themselves. And you know what? The Holy Spirit will tell you what to do. And I just stood there and listened to her. And then when there was another seat, we sat together. And she kept talking, and all I was saying is, yeah, oh boy, or whatever. I didn't give her any information, anything at all. And when we almost got to where she was coming out, she said, I'm getting out at the next stop. And I prayed with her, and she got off. And I believe that's all the Holy Angel wanted me to do. The Holy Spirit didn't want me to say one thing to her. And if I remember the morning, and I was leaving home, and I was dressing my skirt and whatever. And there were a number of us there, but she came directly to me. The way you dress is a testimony. And it doesn't matter where you are, whether you are a student, whether you're an adult, or whatever, your outward appearance has a lot to say about you. And we have to remember that. So when we talk about peculiar, I think the most important part of that is what people can see. Another thing is the way we talk. Sometimes you hear Adventists talk and you really look around to see if anybody else is there listening. Because it has nothing to do. It's just so vulgar, And we have to remember that if we are peculiar, it means that we are different. We don't behave like everybody else. We don't eat the same thing that everybody eats. We are not entertained the same way that everybody is entertained. And stuff like that. And especially in schools where you have a mixed multitude there and stuff, you have to really stand your ground. Because unless you are really grounded, it's much easier for a person to deceive you than for you to lead them to the truth. Because Satan is working like crazy to just get, mess up the young people, especially young people. And we as parents have to be also very careful how we relate in the presence of our children. Because you cannot say this and do this, and then when they do it, you get mad with them. We are examples. Okay? So that is the peculiar part. When we go out, as Christians, we represent Jesus.
Yes.
So when somebody see you, they should be able to run to you because they think that you're somebody who's honest and trustworthy that they can relate themselves, to. It's not that when they tell you whatever, you're gonna run back to tell anybody else. It's between you and that person and Jesus. And never you, when you go out and somebody come to you, in your mind, you pray for them because you don't know why this, you don't really know what they're going through, you don't know what's happening. So that is one way we can be peculiar. We eat the way we are supposed to eat. We dress the way we are supposed to dress. We are honest. Because some of us, when it comes to the work environment, we don't even remember that we are Christians. We just do what we feel to do, and we leave bad impression. And people say, well, Seventh-day Adventist, no, you see, I'm working with this girl or whatever, and this, that, and whatever. We have to make sure that in every aspect of our lives, we are representing Jesus. That is why the Bible said that we are a lighthouse. What does a lighthouse do? What's the purpose of a lighthouse? Right, it keeps you focused. That meaning to say it guides you. If you are out there in the sea coming and you are like choppy and so on, you see a lighthouse, you say thank God, because it's guiding you to safety. Right? We are supposed to, in our life, in our work, in everything, we should be an example for somebody else to follow. Alright? So what else does it say about us? We are a holy nation. Oh boy. That is something people don't think they can be holy. Eh? I know the Bible tells me that only holy people go to heaven. No sinner is going to heaven. No sinner. Because sin cannot stand in the presence of God. And I was listening to a guy once and he was talking about God. Love, we talk about love here. Fire represents love in heaven. And that is why you hear about, those who are walking in the midst of fire and so on. God himself. And he was saying, God is loving and merciful and kind. And when we disobey him and do what is wrong, we can't stand in his presence. So at the end of the world, he will hug us or hug those people who will be lost in his mighty arms of love, which is fire. And that's how we say goodbye. And that it sends chills in your body, But we just have to remember who we are. We are a holy people. And how can we be holy? Because we believe that it's so hard. It's so hard to be holy. Now, we have what is called our mind. And the Bible tells us that we are the temple of the Holy Spirit. Right? Now, the Holy Spirit is a spirit. We can't see it or whatever. The same thing, our mind, we can't see it. As much as we talk about our mind, nobody has ever seen your mind. And yet, your mind is the most important part of you. Because you can lose your arm and you can lose that. I am still me. And if something has happened, I am still me. But once you lose your mind, you are gone. Right? And and it said that not even God can make another you. Because your mind can't be in anybody else's. If you pass, he will make somebody looking like you, speaking like you, or whatever, but he can never be you. And so we have to be so careful, when we talk and when we walk and when we choose. Now, as we said, we are a chosen generation, and we choose to let God choose us. Because God is not going to force his love on us. God gave them a choice, right? He said, well, you can't eat of everything else. But this tree, don't eat from it. But they disobeyed. But great Mother Eve decided that she was going to listen to the devil instead of God, and so she threw the whole world in sin. Now we end up with this thing that we have to choose. Now, if we go to the sanctuary, we will realize that in this Holy of Holies there was the Ark of the Covenant. And in the Ark of the Covenant was the Ten Commandments, and on the Ark of the Covenant, that's where the Shekinah glory was. It represents the presence of God. Now, our mind in our temple represents that Ark of the Covenant. And if we allow God, the Holy Spirit, to dwell there, then it will be a whole lot easier for us to be holy. We cannot share our mind with Satan. We know when we are tempted, right? Every single one of us know when we are tempted. And Jesus said, there is no temptation that will come to us, that if we trust Him and if we love Him and if we take it to Him, that He can deliver us from. So when we are tempted, instead of just listening to Satan and let him take charge of our mind, let us go to God, talk to Him. He is so willing to send His Holy Spirit to help us, because we have no desire of ourselves to be holy. We don't have any desire. But if we listen to His word and try to follow His example, ask for the Holy Spirit, listen to Him, because as Christians we hear His voice. When we are tempted, we don't just hear Satan. There is a smaller voice there that is speaking, and if we learn to listen to that one, then we will overcome. Don't believe that? Yes, we will overcome. So we have to remember, I always say, well, if my mind is clean, then the Holy Spirit will abide there, and I won't have to worry about Satan. You know, because he can do so much. But if we allow the Holy Spirit to take over, then we can live a holy life. We can live without sinning. Because if we can't live without sinning, we can't go to heaven. Right, Brother Bertrand?
Amen.
We can't go to heaven sinning. And that is why I say, instead of us looking towards when Jesus is coming and trying to get prepared when Jesus is coming, we have to set ourselves ready now. Because I'm standing here talking to you. I don't know if I ever hear Sabbath coming. I'm not in control of my life. Anything can happen to me. So every day, day by day, we have to submit ourselves to the Holy Spirit so that He will guide us and lead us into all truth. And Jesus, God said, my sheep know my voice. So if you decide to surrender yourself to the loving care of God, you know His voice. There are so many times He speaks to you in different ways. You know, it's not that He's gonna come and talk to you, whatever. His own angel can come to you in the form of a person, and you don't even know. You know, so many times we have been rescued or helped by angels in the form of people, and we don't even know. And we have to believe that.
Amen.
You know, because, you know, that is why the Bible tells us to be careful how we entertain strangers, because we could be entertaining angels in disguise. And I can give you an example. When I came here first, I had no one here. And I was at Grand Central, going to Brooklyn. I was working in White Plains. And I was always sort of scared of this subway, really. So I stood up there, and a girl came up to me and nudged me and said I should follow her. So I followed her, and I turned around, and there was this guy next to me. I don't know if his head wasn't right or what. And she turned to me and she said, "You know him?" I said, "No." And she said, "He has been just following you around and just watching you and all this time." And so I got scared, you know. And she said, "Okay, come on. Where you going?" I said, "I'm waiting for the 4." She said, "Okay, we gotta take any train that comes." And I was scared because I only know my way on the 4 train. So if I should take another one, I had no idea where I was going. And she said, "Come on." So when the train came, this guy went to the door, like a car was behind us. And then just as the train was about to move out, she said, "Come, come, come." And she grabbed my arm and we jumped in. And the guy jumped in too, but he was like 2 trains too. And I was like trembling. I'm telling you, I was really scared. And she said to me, "Where you going?" And I told her, and she, you know, told me where to get off. And when it stopped, I got off. And I looked around to, you know, say thank you. She wasn't there. There wasn't anybody there. And I said, "This is strange." You know, so I don't know. It could just be an angel who took care of me right there and then and so on. So in so many ways, we don't know. we have to make sure that, you know, we have to be careful. I want us to look within ourselves. We are responsible for the choices that we make, each and every one of us. And the choices, in many ways, cause serious consequences. Serious consequences. You know, it can be beneficial to us and it can be terrible. And, you know, just the way we said with Hezekiah wanting to do, you know, wanting to live, and he lived, and there came Manasseh, and I consider him the wickedest person ever lived.